Thank you so much for the time. It's really going to be a pleasure meeting you all here. And a small introduction about me. So I'm Satya, one of the product experts here with DevRev, and I've joined DevRev 4 months ago. Before DevRev, I used to work for a company called as Freshworks. I used to lead the CRM side of things across Europe, based out of London. And I was there with Freshworks for close to 9 years. And before that was my first job with Zoho, where I stayed for 5 years. I was handling the Zoho desk and Zoho CRM side of things. So all my 13 years, I was selling customer experience products, customer service products. And I used to join a company when it was a startup. So that's one of the reasons why, I'm here with DevRev. I help companies build from the ground up. And not just that, why I'm here with DevRev, it's because of the suite of products that they have, right? And of course, the AI nativeness. Uh, so before we, get in, today we are going to speak about how we are going to help customers scale customer support without compromising on customer experience, right? I think whatever that we have mentioned here, scaling customer support, compromising without compromising customer experience, it's all interwoven together, right? It's all tied together because generally when you talk about customer support, we talk about how customer support volumes are handled, how the volume increases, then of course the operational cost increases, then how you would work towards that, and how this all ties towards how the customer experience is taken care, right? So if anything is compromised here, like let's say if there's an operational cost that is compromised, then the scale will not happen, then it takes a toll on customer experience. So it's all tied together, right? And we are here to show you how DevRev could actually do that in a much better way, right? So now let's get into this. So when we talk about you know a couple of things here, right? So, like everyone, I was a science fiction fan while I was growing up, right? And so, talking about films like 2001: A Space Odyssey or Star Trek, we not only saw a future where men and women reached out to the depths of space, but we also saw a future where humankind benefited from the extraordinary abilities of the computers that they've built, right? We saw a future where we could talk to a computer like a person, right? And it would help us accomplish the extraordinary things that we would love to accomplish, right? It gave us hope, it stoked our imagination, and definitely it inspired us, right? Uh, so talking about the science fiction and a lot of things, we really saw, like 4 years ago, 5 years ago in 2020, we really saw, how these things started coming together, right? When we started to see the science fiction promise was becoming a reality, right? Since the launch of ChatGPT, it's been amazing to see the incredible pace at which conversational AI is accelerating, right? It is clear at this point that this isn't a passing phase. Instead, it is a transformative technology that is going to actually reshape the world. And we are also going to see how, along with it, how as businesses we operate, right? How this is going to transform our business, right? And it feels like our first real glimpse of the science fiction future that we promised. When we talk about promises, when we talk about new innovation things coming up, there's huge promises, there's huge expectations, right? And it's not just from smaller companies, but it's from the big tech giants as well, right? But everybody here in this call would probably know this. There is a major problem here, right? Because when we talk about LLMs, large language models, they actually need access to a lot of data to work effectively, right? And consumer grade large language models actually addresses this because they can train on huge corpuses of publicly available information, definitely across the internet, right? But when we talk about this in a business perspective, right? there's a lot of leaders in this call. There's a lot of, individual contributors in this call from different various part of, the teams, right? You can be from a support team. You can be from a customer experience team. You can be from a customer success team. You know, we all know that the data, is spread across a wide range of software solutions. Um, and definitely these software solutions will be needed to make your team successful, right? In order to make conversational AI more meaningful and powerful, to actually unlock its true potential, you need to access all of that data and make it accessible, right? And it should retain its business context and make it actionable as well, right? Otherwise, when we don't have data along with AI, then AI just feels like it's a feature limited to siloed application inside an existing software, right? So think about the legacy systems that are available in the market now, right? They are in the business for 15, 20 years, and they have a very old tech stack that it is very hard for them to have AI infused into it, right? So that's why they have option number two, where they go ahead and acquire an AI platform and try to integrate it, right? But there's a couple of problems to this, right? When they try to integrate this AI platforms, of course, it's an integration. It is not seamless in the first point. You would not get the true potential of what AI could actually do when AI is a bolted on solution, right? And that is the biggest difference, right? And I really feel like moving towards the future, there'll be just two things. It's just legacy systems and AI native systems, right? So because of this, we are not able to deliver on the big promises that's been made, and that's not exactly where AI should be headed, right? And that's where we come in. And so when we talk about DevRev, I would really love to talk about these two important things, right? DevRev was actually started, 4.5 years, 5 years ago, approximately. And I think the first 2.5, 3 years, we were in stealth mode. We had around 300 engineers just building the product before even we started a GTM team, right? Uh, and we built two amazing things, to be very honest. One is the airdrop functionality, and the other one that we call it as a knowledge graph, right? So before I talk about our patented solutions, the airdrop and knowledge graph, we talked about how data is available in different ways, different formats, available in different solutions. How do we get that in one place, one system of record? I think that's where airdrop comes in, right? So airdrop is a functionality which actually helps you to sync data from different sources. You can use multiple knowledge management systems. You can use multiple CRMs. You can use multiple ITSMs, to make your team successful. Of course, that's needed. But you would need a system of record. So this airdrop helps you to bring all the information into one place, into a knowledge graph. And that's something that we call it as the system of record, right? And on top of this, we will have an agentic AI work on it, or a couple of agentic AIs working on it, right? And what does that agentic AI do, right? Make it make things very conversational, first thing, right? And when we talk about how conversational it is, when you go with DevRev, the first thing that you would get is you would get a cutting edge AI interface, and which can deploy agents, which can deploy agentic agents on top of your information, company's data. And of course, knowledge graph and airdrop makes it easy and seamless for you, and it doesn't require you to shift away from any of your existing systems. This not just deploys AI agents. This AI agents can do a lot of things, right? It can effectively search, not just search, but do actions, take feedback, automate stuff, and also give a lightning fast analytics, right? And this is all in a very conversational interface, right? Just like a chat GPT or Claude for your internal employees and your external customers, right? So with all the data present in one place, and this agentic AIs can, you would be able, your employees or your customers would be able to ask questions, get summaries, create materials, provide feedback, and collaborate with systems to deliver results, which was previously unimaginable, to be very honest, right? And one last thing would be, as a industry thought leader, who are, all of them are here, you're well aware of how many services are required to deliver a great experience, and helping the customers to get the information, that is very challenging, right? Because the answers are spread over a lot of systems, right? It can be on a ticketing system, it can be on knowledge bases, it can be within your product and engineering teams, right? um, and again, I might sound like a broken record, but I'm going to talk about airdrop and knowledge graph again, which are so powerful. They stitch the information together, and give you a single data layer, right? And it's not just, you know, important to just have, a single data layer, but it should give you the right privacy and permissions as well, right? So when we talk about privacy and permissions, of course, not everybody should have access to a lot of information. It should have restricted. So your rule-based access control is also brought inside the platform, right? And how do we do that is something that we would talk about. I'm going to show you that live as well, how agentic AI could work on that. And, while talking about DevRev, while talking about all the functionalities and features that DevRev offers, I'm really, really happy to introduce, a special guest here, who's Daniel Chin. Daniel Chin is a customer success manager at a company called as Agora RE. And Daniel and his team with Agora is one of our early adopters of DevRev, right? And welcome, Daniel. First of all, thank you so much for sharing your time today with us, and we are so excited to have you. And yeah, we would love to hear an introduction from you. What do you do? And yeah, go for it, Daniel.
Thank you so much for having me. First of all, it's a real pleasure to be here, especially with DevRev. So as you mentioned, I'm Daniel. I've been with Agora for almost 3, 4 years now. We are a similar age to DevRev, actually, around 5 years in the market, and we recently experienced like a huge explosive growth alongside with the growth of AI, which meant our collaboration with DevRev was obvious and intuitive, and it made sense to go with DevRev. We really, I'd say, what we do is a B2B SaaS company. We have a software involved in real estate investment management. And yeah, I recently decided, well, Agora as a company, with the growth we've experienced, we've kind of moved away from each client receiving a personal customer success manager to opening up a dedicated support team. It's the only scalable way to do it. I can talk more into that when we get into some questions later on. But yeah, I'm really happy to be here, and thanks for having me.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Daniel. And I think, Daniel, it would be really good to have a customer success person here, because it gives us a very great advantage, right? To be very honest, the customer success, team is one of the teams that actually works with the entire broad GTM spectrum, right? They work with AEs, they work with solution engineers, they work with very closely with implementation team, and and making sure that all the promises that was made during the solutioning phase and the implementation phase, is taken care by working with the product team. So you guys are really important in bringing the right features, driving, the product, led growth here. And at the same time, you guys work in tandem with the support team. So I think, customer success team is a team that works across the GTM spectrum. So since, like, again, I want this to be super conversational, Daniel. There's nothing formal here. And then one of the things that I really, wanted to ask you is, you guys are one of the early adopters of an AI native platform, right? Which is DevRev. And I would like to understand one important thing, right? When you look at what is the key difference between just deflecting tickets, because everybody talks about, deflecting tickets, AI, the buzzword, right? And actually reducing them over time, right? uh, it's not just, like I said, it's not just deflecting tickets, it's actually reducing them over time. How can AI help achieve the later, Daniel? What is your views on that?
100%. So I'd say the main difference between deflection and reduction is basically reactive and proactive. With deflection, it's very reactive. A customer raises an issue, the system will offer an article or an automated answer, or we can, reply via email with the response. And that's
Mhm.
it. The issue is solved and the ticket has been deflected, right? And it's over. But this is a one-off interaction. The issue was still raised and nothing
Mhm.
else really changes. That question can be raised again tomorrow. Our main goal is reduction. Reduction is more proactive. It's asking, why is this question coming up in the first place? More
Mhm.
importantly, what can we do to prevent it coming up again? Not just for this customer, for everyone, and this is where AI really becomes a game changer. It's constantly analyzing all of our tickets, looking for recurring patterns. This helps us, which topics are being triggered and talked about the most. What's
Mhm.
causing customers to also go to the chatbot, it fails, and then wants to speak to and escalate to an agent. Why is this happening and which help center articles are underperforming, either not being found or not solving the issues. It's really important. It's basically a feedback loop. I would say the difference between deflection and reduction is once we've received this feedback, once we understand which kind of elements of the product are constantly being queried about, which our flows are not good enough, it's helping us not only improve the product, improving the customer experience. We just become a better company by knowing this information. So deflection is really it's nice on the day to day, but we're really aiming for reduction, and that's what AI is really helping us move forward.
Amazing. I think that adds more value, Daniel, because like you said, when you have when you're able to identify issues proactively with all the recurring patterns that you're talking about, right? And that definitely helps in reducing over time. And again, just I would say another layer of question towards the first one. Does this definitely help you in increasing like I'm sorry, reducing operational costs, right? And at the same time this improves customer satisfaction as well, correct, Daniel?
Both of them for sure. I feel with the use of AI, I'm 10 Daniels almost. It's insane. I mean, on a day-to-day of customer success, right? You're meeting with the clients, you're training them on the software, you have back-to-back meetings, you then have your internal meetings, and kind of in between the meetings, you're getting tons of emails, and that's your time to kind of respond and be on top of it, responding to clients. But it's now different with the use of AI. First of all, they're in the middle of our software, they have a question, they don't have to leave the software, send an email, wait 3 hours for a response. It's really improving that customer experience so they get that instantaneous response that isn't interrupting their workflow. And maybe, they wanted to achieve something on the system, but because they had to wait 3, 4 hours, maybe they don't implement it. And that's going to impact not only on Agora, impacts on our customers, impacts on the customer experience and success. So that instantaneous kind of response is incredible, both for us and for the customers. It's critical.
Amazing. I think this is a nice segue to the next thing that I had in mind, Daniel, because when you talked about chatbots, right? Many companies really invest in knowledge bases and AI chatbots because now that AI is the buzzword now, I feel like every exec wants to do something with AI for their company, right? But still, I feel like customers escalate to agents, right? And and I really wanted to understand what are the critical factors that you feel is really important in making self-service truly effective.
I'd say the main reason that people are escalating to an agent is either a lack of trust or a lack of clarity in the AI or in the tools that we've implemented. Customers
Yeah.
escalate not because they really want to. I mean, they love the personal relationship with myself and all the customer success managers, of course. But at the end of the day, we're a product and a service, and they want it to work and to use it as fast as possible and as effective as possible. So the first step is really making sure your content is actually helpful. It's clear language, it's real answers, and probably most importantly, up to date. It's very common in SaaS companies, especially like ours. We do a software update every 2 weeks, new features, new flows, different UI, different UX. So you really need to be on top of kind of that knowledge base articles and all of the videos that you have to ensure when people go into there, they see it's up to date, it's relevant for today, and they don't need to maybe doubt it and see if it's not actually correct. Secondly, the system needs to understand the customer's intent. If somebody asks about uploading documents and you send them a generic article about the type of documents you can upload, you've already lost them and they're not going to trust AI. And the next time they have a question, they probably won't even try the bot and they're always going to escalate. So AI can really help to bridge that gap. It uses the real data, things like past tickets and common pain points. And the content, like I mentioned, I think earlier, it's the feedback loop. People keep escalating on the same topics, on the same issue. It's not necessarily a bot failure. It's a signal that something in your product documentation needs to improve. You're not just answering questions, you need to learn from prior questions. And DevRev is actually, I want to say something very specific about DevRev, is incredible at this. Let's say a question gets asked to the chatbot, doesn't know how to respond and it gets escalated to an agent. I then jump in and give the correct answer. DevRev and the chatbot then know in the future, if that same question comes up, to take the agent answer and to regurgitate it. It's incredible. It's life-changing. I can't express how great it is, really.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, Daniel. Because yeah, that similar thought came to my mind as well. Because when you talked about the clarity of information that it provides, and also the learning model of the AI, right? Because you would not have answers in the knowledge base for everything. You might your agents might fix issues on the go with a specific set of steps, and if that gets automatically created as a knowledge base, then that's going to help. That's gold, right? Because you don't need to create it again, and that serves as a knowledge for future queries as well. And this, in fact, is going to help the teams a lot, right? Thank you for that, Daniel. And I have one more question, Daniel. And we're talking about customer support. We're talking about agents. Of course, this all falls under how teams are performing, and it all falls under the KPIs, right? So with AI and automation reshaping the customer support, right? uh, how should, or I assume that it is trying to, right? How should companies rethink traditional support KPIs like first response, first resolution time? Do we need to think it like a traditional way, or that thinking needs to change?
I think they're still important, traditional KPIs, first response time and resolution time, that they're still definitely important, but they only really tell part of the story. Fast response times are valuable, but they only matter if the response actually solves the customer's problems, right? A fast but incomplete response can lead to frustration, where the customer might need to reach out again and again or escalate to an agent. So while these metrics are important, they don't capture the full picture of customer satisfaction or success. With the rise of AI, we started to focus on quality over speed as well. AI is key to the shift. It allows us to measure customer interactions in a more holistic manner. Instead of just looking at how quickly a question's answered, we'll ask, are customers actually getting the answers they need? Did the conversation feel effortless for the customer? Also super important, they don't feel like they're speaking to a chatbot and constantly clicking, the next button and another AI question and another button. They want to feel like they're really involved in the conversation. And also, most importantly, that we're solving the problem permanently, not just solving it for now, like we spoke about earlier, not with just deflection, but with reduction. So I'd say the KPIs, they still matter, but we're pairing them with newer, more comprehensive metrics. The bot resolution rate, self-service success rate, are the articles we can view as well on DevRev, how many articles are being viewed, and we can assume, each article view is reducing questions to our agents, and it's just solving it over a long-term period. So kind of the article effectiveness is super critical for us. Self-service, how many of the questions asked over the past month did not require an agent to be involved? And obviously that leads into the bot resolution rate as well. So these KPIs, they're working in tandem with the original traditional ones, but kind of, AI infused, if you will.
AI infused. Perfect. I really love the way when you said, Daniel, where, AI infused is definitely one. And I also really liked when you said, DevRev is trying to solve a problem for the future, right? It's not on that particular day, because generally, in a lot of softwares that I worked with, and a lot of companies that I worked with, right, they always try to solve the problem on that particular day. The problem gets solved on that day, happy days, right? But nobody knows that it's going to creep up again in the next couple of days. But solving the problem for the future, I think that makes a lot of sense, and that's one of the reasons I joined DevRev as well. Thank you for that, Daniel. So we are going to continue the chat with Daniel, but before that, we would like to have a small poll. To see. We have a couple of questions. Then we would go ahead with a small demonstration on how agentic AI could be helpful, right? And showing a specific set of use cases. And then we have a couple of questions more for Daniel as well. We would continue with that. And yeah, so let's have the poll. So, where do you see AI delivering the most value in support? Right, we have a couple of options. I would love to get answers on that. Self-service and deflection, agent productivity and recommendations, knowledge-based generation, workflow orchestration and automation. Right, this I would select all the four, but I would love to get answers. So we're going to very shortly start with a demo. I guess everyone is able to see my screen now. Perfect. Cool. So let's start with a short demo on DevRev, because we talked a lot about agentic platforms. We talked about how DevRev is good in deploying agentic AIs, right? So I'm going to talk about a fictitious banking platform here. So generally, whenever I talk to customers, whenever I do demos, I put myself in the customer's shoes, right? Because most of the times when when I used to talk to banks, or when I used to talk to fintech companies, the first thing that I look into is when I talk to a credit card company that I work with, or or I use, or the banking platform that I use. What are the things that I'm facing difficulties in getting information about, right? What are the things for which I need to stay in a queue for a long time? What are the things that I need to raise a ticket, wait for a long time, right? So I used to think about that, and when DevRev was able to solve all those, I was like, wow, right? So I think just like me, everybody would have faced these kind of, I would not say concerns, but it takes a lot of time to get certain things done, right? The first thing, just look at this gold card for now. There's a surprise on that. So one of the things here that we're going to talk about is, generally, we would go ahead and so you can see the agentic AI. It can be on your website, it can be on any platforms, any portals, right? So generally, when you talk about transactions, right? When I want to understand or get the set of transactions that I want, I would just go ahead and say, how can I get my last 5 transactions, right? So before I put this in, generally, uh, what we do is we go to a platform, we go ahead and put a date, we go ahead and download it as a PDF, and we would do that. But I want the DevRev makes this super conversational. So you can see when I ask this, I'm asking in pure NLP, natural language. It scrapes through my account and it gives me the last 5 transactions that I have, right? Because, like I said, everything has to be super conversational, right? Instead of having multiple clicks, and in getting an information, I can make this super conversational. And this could be a very simple thing, but I would like to notch this up a little further, right? How many of you have faced a difficulty in finding certain transactions that you have spent on certain things, right? For example, I have a car, and whatever amount of money that I spent on my car, if I need to identify that in the last month, I need to probably go through 100 transactions, right? And select the ones that I spent for my vehicle. And, I need to, you know, write it down and then probably add it to see how much I've spent on the car, right? But you can make this conversation again. So I'm going to just ask how much I have spent on my car. So what the agentic AI does is, like I said, it goes through your information, it figures out which are the transactions that is for your car, right? So again, it does syntactic and semantic search, right? So it's not just on keywords. So it goes ahead and selects like the car service that you have spent, you have put fuel for your vehicle, there's an insurance payment that you've made, and it gives you the total payment that you've spent on your car, right? But I want this to be notched up a little further, right? Because this could be, this could be done in a couple of clicks. One thing that I really felt could be game changing would be, you know, uh, let's say if I need to dispute a transaction, I think that's something that I felt it's always been really difficult, right? And while I'm doing this, of course, if there are any questions on the chat, I would take some time to answer that right after the demo, right? So I'm just parking that for now. So now, disputation of a transaction, right? So this mostly happens with Uber Eats, right? I'm a fan of Uber Eats. I'm a foodie, but generally when I order something in Uber Eats, most of the time it comes. But a couple of times, what happens is, the food is delivered cold, or maybe it's not delivered at all. But I'm still charged, right? The restaurant cancels the order, and I'm still charged, right? And I spent a couple of bucks on it, but I actually did not get that back. So I generally I go and dispute that transaction, right? And generally when I dispute it, I call the customer support. I would probably wait in queue, or I would write an email. I would get a response after multiple days. Then it's not a great experience. But I want to do this, I want to do this conversational way as well. So I'm going to say I want to dispute my Uber Eats transaction, right? So I'm going to say that what it does is there can be multiple Uber Eats transactions, right? It actually looks for the list of Uber Eats transaction. It's going to show me the transaction, right? And it's not just asking for the transaction, or showing the transaction. It's going to ask for a reason why I want to, dispute this as well, right? So I would say order cancelled. Let me spell it wrong as well. Order cancel, still charged. I'm not even completing the sentence. I'm going to put this in. The first thing it does is it goes ahead and says that, order cancel, but still charge. It pretty presents the reason. And it's also saying that, please confirm if this is correct. I will proceed in disputing the transaction and creating a ticket for investigation. The important part is it would create a ticket for the investigation because this has to go through another set of process, right? Because so you can see the dispute already happened. It hits an API call, and the dispute already happened here. And it also creates a ticket. You can see it also creates a ticket so that this is pushed to the card service provider. It can be Mastercard, Visa, or Amex, whatever it is, right? And the bank takes care of it. And if you generally see this, just going back on this, you can see the transaction is disputed right here, correct? So now, uh, if I need to, let's say, I want to notch this up a little further, right? Because we asked about, you know, disputing a transaction. The other thing that I really wanted to show you is, because that's one of the reasons why I said, concentrate on the gold card when you saw that first, right? When you looked into that gold card, I wanted to understand what are the, advantages that I would get with a gold card, right? So I want to ask that to the AI. And before I do that, right, I want to keep this as a surprise. I'm going to answer any specific questions that is there on the chat first. Just give me 1 second. Let me go to the chat so that I can answer any questions. Um, so in situations where AI gets contradictory information from two different sources, can DevRev flag it to the agent? or is there some criteria like the last updated date that will take into consideration before providing the response? So definitely yes. The answer being, when there are two contradictory information, right? The first thing can be, again, in other terminologies, we talk about this as AI hallucination, right? So you can ask a question, to the bot, completely irrelevant, right? You maybe something like, "Do monkeys live in a zoo?" And to a banking bot, right? So generally, the answer should be, of course, it shouldn't answer. It should politely decline, and that's where prompt engineering comes into play. So whatever bot that you see right now, we have not built using the traditional way of creating as decision trees, right? Because generally, in a lot of companies that I worked with, and the customer service softwares that I've seen, the bots are built with as decision trees. Like, step one, this happens. Step two, this happens. Step three, this happens, right? And a couple of things that would be a problem in this would be, it's hard coded. That's the first thing. You would not be able to take intelligent actions on it. And the second one would be, if something goes wrong, the problem would be you would not be able to identify where it has gone wrong, because it's a huge, cluster of information, right? I think that's where prompt engineering. So our bots are completely prompts. You just give the prompt, because I'm going to show this to you right after this demo on how these bots are configured, right? You can see, three things there. You can see the prompts, plain English, how the bot should work, and the skills that is assigned to the bot, whatever the creation of tickets, creating, updating third-party systems, that's the skill, and the data that it needs to look into is the knowledge, right? So it needs to look into the articles, it needs to look into tickets, and provide all the relevant information, right? So, and behind all this is the workflows that happens. I think, we would show that to you live, right after the demonstration here. So let me share my screen again. So I guess, you're able to see the gold card here, right? So let's say I'm interested here. I would say, what are the advantages of having a gold card, right? I would just go ahead and ask this. First, it gives me information about the gold card. What are the advantages that it has, right? It says, I would get, a 1.5 percentage cashback. So the other thing that I would love to understand is, again, how much cashback I would have got if on my transactions currently, if I would have used a gold card, right? Generally, what do? I just go ahead and put my transactions in. I would calculate 1.5 percentage. Why do all that stress? Ask AI, right? So you can ask, what would be the cashback on my transactions? So I don't even have a gold card, but it's going to give me a potential, idea on how much cashback that I would get, with the current set of transactions that I have. And you can see it clearly states all the transactions. It calculates 1.5 percentage. It gives me the result, and it gives me the total cashback that I would get overall, right, in my transaction history, right? So this is what AI could do to you. It not just provides information, it can do actions, it can, learn from it. And doing actions, I really wanted to show you this. So again, it's like an API call connecting to third-party systems. So I would say love I would love to upgrade to a gold card. So I'm going to say this, and it would automatically see, I got updated to a gold card, right? So your gold card has been successfully updated, and you can see the gold card here. Again, what I'm showing to you is not a Figma mock. I'm not showing something which is pre-built, right? This is a live instance that is working, and this has been built. And why I'm telling you this is I'm going to show this to you how this has been built as well, because everything would I'm a kind of person who things are like in things in a different way, right? Because a lot of people would think like, oh, demo, everything works well. No, we are going to show you how this has been built, how the agents are built. But before I do that, maybe I'm going to come back to the chat with Daniel again. So I have a couple of questions for you, Daniel, if that's okay. Um, like we mentioned, we talked about AI. We talked about the different elements and aspects of AI. But one thing that I really wanted to understand is how does DevRev AI driven knowledge management actually optimize speed and accuracy? Because you've been early adopters of DevRev. I would love to understand from you.
Yeah, for sure. So as I mentioned before, like as customer success, we have lots of meetings, with the clients, internal meetings, and the kind of questions we're getting from clients, they may arise in the meeting. They may also arise via email, via WhatsApp, via all kind of different sources that we're just not available for, right? We're in back-to-back meetings, we're a limited resource kind of group, but we're 10 guys with 700 clients. Using AI and DevRev, we have, first of all, that first response from the bot. We have an incredible knowledge base and
Mhm.
escalations now. We have dedicated people for when the bot fails and when the knowledge base fails. If there's an escalation, we have guys ready on hand. And, it's reducing the overall, I'd say, interactions with like issues and how-tos with clients by at least 60, 70%. So we're improving our speed, our accuracy. We're improving the speed and accuracy for our clients as well, that are not just waiting around for hours for responses or scrolling through, hundreds of articles. It's really making everything faster and move faster for everybody, customers, ourselves, and also cross department, across the teams, right? Our QA team now can, instantly receive notifications of issues, of bugs and incidences on the software. We can collate them together. So rather than my friend opening an incident and me opening the same one and a different colleague opening the same one, because we've all been in separate conversations, we've all received separate feedback. Everything's now centralized in one place, goes to the QA team as one incident. They can investigate that one incident a lot faster than they could do 3 separate ones. So our resolution as well to the clients is way faster and more accurate with the AI, with the centralization. And yeah, I would say also one specific thing with DevRev and why the AI is particularly smart is you have a feature called like parts. It allowed
Yeah.
us to map our whole system out. We have many different domains. I mentioned we have a real estate investment software management. It's complex. We have documents. We have investor onboarding. We have, fintech as well. We can transfer funds. Lots of things going on, which is confusing for an AI bot with no context. Once you allowed us to map out our system with parts, the
Mhm.
AI chatbot now understands and knows to give detailed, accurate answers for all a range of different features that we have. And it's really, it's reducing the ping pong as well, I'd say, between ourselves and the clients. Rather than sending a random email, we're not quite sure what they're alluding to. The chatbot almost knows as well as us, if not better sometimes. So yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Thanks for that, Daniel. Thanks for those insights. And one last question to Daniel, because I really want to close the loop here, because I really want to do justice to what we had it as a title for this particular webinar, right? How does managing high ticket volumes without sacrificing quality play out in your everyday work, Daniel? I would love to hear your insights on that.
It's about building a layered system, right? So the automation will take the first pass, right? And trying with the chatbot and with the help center and the knowledge base that we have, handling the common issues, triaging tickets and routing them based on context. But the quality doesn't come from the automation alone. It comes from having a clear escalation path, which we now have with well-trained agents and systems in place that flag recurring issues for deeper investigation. In practice, it means your support team isn't just reacting, they're also feeding, like we mentioned before, this feedback loop. They're feeding insights back into your product, into the documentation, into processes, so that over time the volume doesn't just feel manageable, it actually goes down. I'd say with Agora specifically, having this very high ticket volume that we experienced at the start really helped us a lot. It gave us great visibility into, what we didn't have beforehand. A lot of what we had beforehand was anecdotal, myself included, and all the CS team. We could have a difficult conversation with a client 1 week ago, and it really sticks in our head about a certain feature or flow that didn't work, and would take that to the product team and say, this is a huge issue. We had a huge problem with the client. When really it's more anecdotal and emotional. Now using AI and DevRev, we now have like actionable data. We can know that in January, 50 clients struggled with X, importing custom fields into the CRM. And this tells us, two things. One, that our articles aren't clear enough. Two, that the software isn't that intuitive in that specific area. So it's this feedback loop with this high ticket volume. The high ticket volume at the start was fantastic for the feedback loop, and it's improving our quality over time. It helps us learn a lot more about our customers. It centralizes all of this information and really can help us deflect internally to the different departments what we really need to be focusing on to improve, rather than, like I said, this anecdotal kind of what we all feel and what our conversations were with clients. It really gives us actionable data, which I think is been critical to our everyday work.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Daniel. Daniel, first of all, it's a pleasure having you here, giving us so much insights about AI, how DevRev is helping you guys. And thank you so much for that, Daniel. I would love to have you on a lot of other meetings like this and share more insights. And thank you for the continued partnership and the trust that you have with DevRev.
Really a pleasure. Thank you for having me, really.
And before we round it off, this is exactly what I wanted to show you guys on the product. How did I build those agents, right? Like I said, plain English, just provide what the agent should work on, right? How it should work on, right? Just provide it in plain English, right? And it's not just that, you go ahead and give them skills, right? When it talks about creating a ticket, disputing a transaction, and you also give them articles. So when you talk about disputing a transactions, you would also have a workflow behind that, right? So this is going to tell you, how this transaction actually works. So I can go to the workflow builder, which is one of the easiest that I've seen. It's just drag and drop. You would be able to have controls, you would be able to have triggers, you would be able to have actions, right? So you can just see creating a ticket is a simple workflow, right? I just use drag and drop options. Listing transactions that I talk about is a simple workflow. It just hits an API call and it goes ahead and provides all the information, as simple as that, right? So I would say, like I said, it's not a mock that I showed. It's a platform that's been built, and I would also love to, for all the folks that is present here. First of all, thank you so much for the time that you have given us, and for the time that you took to listen to what we have to say about DevRev. And I want to make this, super engaging, super conversational for you. I would love to talk to you guys one on one. I would love to understand your use case. I would love to give a tailored presentation to you guys on how DevRev could help your business. So feel free to scan this, book a demo with me, or I'm happy to have a coffee chat as well to discuss on how AI is reshaping the world. I would love to get your feedback as well on how AI is working and where AI is not working. Love to get that. Happy to chat. Thank you so much, guys. And anything else, feel free to let us know.